Hey everybody, it's Julie. Welcome to Hello Monday. Today I'm going to be making a fun, modern, color-blocked Valentine. And instead of saying Happy Valentine's Day, I thought it would be fun to use the date because we all know February 14th is Valentine's Day. So I've grabbed the Hinged numbers die set, and these are great because they cut out the shape of the number on the right-hand side, but they have a score line on the left-hand side. So that means that number is going to hang on to the paper. It's not going to be cut completely out. And I've aligned my color palette here for the color block effect. And I'm going to start from right to left, aligning my dies and getting everything cut out in this sort of, color blocked fashion, or these stripes. And these pieces were cut 2 3/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. In the past, I've done full quarter sheets with this type of card, but it ended up being super bulky. And I thought, maybe this will help reduce the bulk. And the good news is, yeah, it does. So I used washi tape to line up number 1, create my straight edge there, and then I'm going to line up the second number there on the next color of cardstock. And I'm going to take both of these and run them through my die cutting machine together because both of them will easily fit on the platform, and that just kind of makes it easy to run two at a time through the machine. So once I do that, and I remove the dies, you're going to see the number has been cut out there on the right hand side, but it's still hanging in the paper because of that fold line there. It didn't cut completely through the cardstock. So I'm going to repeat this with all the numbers that I'm working with in those pieces of cardstock. And then the next thing to do to create this folder tab effect is to make a straight cut from the top of that panel there. And then I'm going to cut all the way up to the bottom of the number, and then I'm going to skip over the top of it, lift the blade, skip over the top. And I'm just using the straight edge of that aluminum cut rail there to guide me on where that blade is going to hit the paper. So everything's going to be nice and straight. You could do this with a craft knife and a ruler, but if it's a pretty long cut, it's really a lot easier to use like a straight blade trimmer like this one. This one's by Fiskars. It's got that aluminum cut rail, very sturdy, and it doesn't shift or move on you. But now the next thing to do is to trim out that interior part. Now, I was being very cautious because I was afraid if I used too much force, you just go ahead and just like whack the whole number right off the side there, which is not what I was going for. So I snipped the rest of that cut line there with my scissors, and then I'm going to cut out that interior part with a craft knife, and whatever I'm not able to get, because it's a lot easier to see with the craft knife and the metal edge ruler there than the blade on the trimmer, right? Because it's a small area. So it's a lot easier to trim that out like that, and then whatever I didn't get that way, I'm just going to take my scissors and quickly snip the rest. And I'm going to repeat this with all of the number panels. Then, to mount them together, I'm going to lay down the one that's going to end up on the far right, face up, and then grab the next one and get some thin 3D foam mounting squares on the back. And I removed the liner papers just at the spot where that number is because I want to anchor it down and make sure the rest of it is nice and straight. And if I remove the liner papers later, then I can kind of futz around with it and make sure that it's lined up nice and straight. And I'm using a 1/2 inch gap there. I'm using the grid on my work surface to make sure I've spaced that out accordingly. And I decided it was going to be a lot easier to work with these in pairs instead of trying to do the whole thing at one time. So I've got all my pairs mounted together in the same way I did the first one. And then it's time to start mounting these to my card front. So this is a Nina Solar White 80-pound standard A2 card, which means it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches when it's folded. And I'm going to add this double-sided sticky tape on the back. Now you could use a tape runner if you wanted to, but sometimes I find that using these strips of double-sided tape, because they're very strong bonded, but they have those liner papers, it gives me some handles to hang on to, and I have a little bit of fudge room there where I can kind of mess around with it before I completely press it down firmly. And with tape runners, sometimes I plonk it down, and then I'm still crooked, and I gotta peel it up. And this is just kind of a little bit easier for me. So once I have the second set down, the last set of numbers, I'm going to put some tape on the right-hand side of that panel with the numbers, but I'm going to put the other piece of tape onto the actual card base itself, because that left-hand side is going to hang off the end and it's going to get trimmed off anyway. So I want to make sure that my adhesive is where it needs to be and holding that panel right onto the card front, and then I can just trim off the excess that's going to be overhanging. So once I have that anchored in place, and you can see where I have a 1-inch gap in between each set of numbers, so you can see the delineation of the dates. So the month, the date, and then the year. So now I'm going to flip that over, and I have some nice sharp long blade scissors. I got myself a new pair of scissors, and a long blade is really good for something like this, because with a sharp blade sometimes I don't always get it nice and straight. That works much better with longer blades. And then I noticed the bottom edge, I was a little bit uneven, and so to rectify that, I grabbed my heavy duty Fiskars rotary paper trimmer, and that is going to allow me to just take 2 swipes, and it will trim through all those layers at one time for me and create a really nice level straight edge there along the bottom. And then I was like, okay, now I need some embellishment, but what do I want? Well, because this is color blocked and it's very modern looking, I chose to use Nuvo drops in high gloss white. I'm just going to slap it there to flatten them, and I just did 1 slap against my hand there, and then it's good. I'm going to leave it alone to dry. But if you don't have Nuvo drops, you could use self-adhesive enamel dots, and those would work pretty awesome. I hope this inspires you to use dates and maybe some color block effects on cards for different events and special occasions. And thanks for watching.